What is the longest 5 minutes you have ever experienced? Being a kid and waiting for my mom to finish talking to friends. That ain't 5 minutes though. That's legit an hour. I was on placement with a doctor and he told a patient that he might lose his leg due to diabetes. It obviously upset him, but the doctor left to go get something, leaving me in the room with him. He must have been gone for only 2 minutes, but I swear it felt like 20. The guy was quietly sobbing to himself and I had no idea what to do or say. On the way to a toilet, trying to hold back destructive diarrhea in a public place. In 5th grade, while the principal was listing off the profanities, I searched on Google Earth. Being young and waiting for my mom to pick me up from somewhere and she was late. Fire department. I was acting battalion chief because the regular battalion was off for Christmas Eve. Full arrest of a 3-year-old. I arrived on scene first because I was already on the road and close. I performed CPR on that child alone in front of her family at the base of their Christmas tree for what seemed like forever before the engine and medic unit arrived. Checking the times on the dispatch sheet later, it was 4.5 minutes. 2 rounds of CPR. This was almost 5 years ago and sometimes it still feels like it's happening. My son was silent when he was born. The doctor gave me a serious look, handed me the scissors to cut the umbilical cord, and then rushed my son to a table on the other side of the room. I moved to the head of the bed to tell my wife what a great job she did. I honestly have no idea how long it took to hear him cry, but those seconds/minutes were the longest year of my life. He turned 20 last month. 6 months ago, anesthesia ended too soon while the surgeon was still stitching up my knee after realigning my patella. There were still 3 stitches to go. I still can't decide what was the worst pain, the tourniquet on the top of my thigh or the stitches. I have a less harrowing answer as well. The last 5 minutes of an ultrasound on your abdomen, when forced to do so with a full bladder. Especially when I got my appointment wrong and showed up an hour early. I have, in all my 30+ years, never had to pee so badly. Lol. The last 5 minutes on a treadmill. The whole 5 minutes on a treadmill. When I was a kid, my mom told me to wait online at the supermarket, and then she went to go get some more things. The person who was at the cashier had just paid and the lady in front of me began unloading her, not heavily packed, shopping cart. She had almost finished loading and was about ready to pay when my mother finally reappeared. Those were simultaneously the longest and the shortest and most terrifying 5 minutes of my life. A presentation about grass. I don't know why we had to watch it. Or why they chose to do it. At the hospice holding my husband's hand as he died. Longest 5 minutes of my life. Wife had a seizure during labor. They couldn't find the baby's heartbeat afterwards and rushed to emergency C-section. Everything stabilized but it was scary, seemed to go on forever. 4 years later everyone is happy and healthy. Loading screens and games back when I had a laptop. Lamau watching my crush walk away after I told her how I felt. Then she came back about 5 minutes later and just quietly told me she didn't want to speak with me anymore. I'm a police dispatch officer and I had a 6-year-old girl call in on the emergency number and the first thing she said was, "There are men here and they are hurting Daddy." The time it took for the first unit to arrive at the scene was the longest minutes in my life. We were lucky we had units nearby. Trying to help somebody you are certain will bleed out before the ambulance gets there. Every time my dad begins a story I've heard 100 times. Watching sex scenes with parents. I'm an adult now and it still makes me uncomfortable. I used to be a firefighter. My kid is still in there. He wasn't. He was hiding in the bushes next door, a bit frightened, but completely fine. I think that took a few years off my life. Lost my 4-year-old daughter in a busy museum when she wandered off by herself. Found her a little while later oblivious to the fact that the museum was on lockdown. The time between a guy who was acting weird and kept approaching me while I was mowing my lawn, who then hid and was watching me from my neighbor's lawn, to when the cops arrested him. I went inside to call them via my back door. Front was locked, and he followed me and started knocking and scratching against it. I went from hiding on the ground against my back door so he couldn't see me to locked in my upstairs bathroom with a bat by the end of it all. 5 minutes seems like forever when you're terrified, having my house broken into, held at gunpoint, beaten, and my brother was shot. It really felt like they were taking their time, but it probably didn't last very long. For more videos like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Don't forget to check out our other videos, and thanks for watching. Also don't forget to subscribe to PewDiePie.